next presenter is Nicholas Soar, talking about his work with the Pavlis Institute in India. Take it away, Nicholas.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm one of 4 people that went to India this summer with the Pavlis Institute. The other 3 were conveniently out of town. So a brief overview of what the Pavlis Institute of Global Technological Leadership is. If you didn't see the GANA's presentation earlier this morning. What it is a 4-year program. It's aside from the typical major or bachelor's degree. Each semester you take a class on top of your regular course load, and it helps you develop and hone your skills to be a leader. And then the summer after your 3rd year, you go to a developing country such as India. There's a Ghana team and then a Malta team. Then me, Caitlin, David, and Corinne. So where we were in South India, in the state of Tamil Nadu. This is Chennai, formerly known as Madras. And where we were specifically was right here in Takam, or whatever, I still can't pronounce the names. And then India. So the Pavlis Institute is more based on cultural experiences, working as a team within a different cultural setting, and how to overcome cultural differences and how to grow from them. We picked from our previous presentation, we picked words that we noticed were a big part of our trip. David picked juxtaposition because this right here, this is a 5-star resort in Pondicherry, which we got to stay in for 2 days. There's normal malls. There's 6-story malls like you'd find in Minnesota, Michigan, anywhere in the States. They had Baskin-Robbins, they had computers and stuff. But that was very, very rare. And what we saw, the video's not playing. Where we were and what we saw was mostly rural villages, children that would come up to you and touch your hair, and they'd never seen a white person because there's virtually no diversity where we were. So there's a big gap between modern civilization and the other 90% of India where we were focusing on. Okay. Another thing that we noticed was the hospitality. Indian culture is very, very based on personal relations and being hospitable to pretty much anyone you know. People would invite us over for dinner, they'd invite us for tea, they'd ask, have you had your food, satyangla, and all this stuff. We were just blown away at how nice these people were. And then also everything's based on respect. Everyone would call me sir, even though I was either younger than them or lower status relatively. They'd always call you by your salutation. And then my word was appreciation. And this is where I can tie into our project a little more. They appreciated us being there, willing to come over and then put in a water filtration system for them, which I'll get to that later. They appreciated everything. This was, okay, I guess I can't go back. Well, let's go. The water project. So the Pavlis Institute, we study leadership skills for one semester, or one class per semester all the way up until our junior summer, where we go over and we have to implement a project of our choice. The India team decided to do a water project based on the previous India team's recommendations. The village, Palayanur Government School, that they went to and visited had very poor water quality, and we lined up a water filter. It's an open source water filter designed by Aqueous Solutions, and we lined that up to the water qualities that we were seeing from the previous group in Palayanur. So what we did, we made an aqueous solution water filter made out of 4 barrels. I guess I'll explain that next. We had a bunch of problems trying to implement this project culturally, mostly culturally, because people wouldn't let us do work. They'd want to do the work for us. And we had problems with that. We had problems with their needs. We didn't know exactly what we were going into, and we certainly didn't expect to dig a 200-foot trench to the school that you see in the background in the blue. Another unexpected hurdle that we had to overcome was a short workday. People there don't work nearly as much as we do here. They're focused more on family values, spending time with others, and less on work. So we had a short work day, and that was a big challenge that we had to get over, because we had to work really diligently for 2 or 3 hours that we had to actually go to the village and implement the project. This was the well feeding our filter. So you can see there's like shoes, water bottles, shampoo bottles, styrofoam, a bunch of trash that was just sitting in the bottom of the well. It had a cover, but still people would throw their trash in there because they have nowhere else to throw it. So this is our water filter. What it is, it's a biochar water filter. It uses 3 stages. One is rough media that goes through this barrel. The water comes in. This is a storage tank that holds dirty water from the well. It gets filled up twice a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night, for half an hour. And that holds the water, drains over into this barrel, which goes down, and then it actually flows upwards through coarse media, which is like a gravel, regular pea-sized gravel, which takes out large media and water. It upflows and goes into this barrel, which has biosand that takes out any inorganic compounds, bacteria, E. coli, and then it goes down, upflows into this, and that has the biochar. The biochar was made by a reactor that we had made there in a barrel. What it is it's just activated carbon. Biochar is pretty much synonymous for activated carbon. So it goes into that barrel, and then comes out to the bottom, which this is our clean storage barrel. And then we had to route it over to a little sink that they had that they used to fill up their water wells and buckets. Is there a video? So we ended up producing clean water during our 5 weeks there. And also another aspect of our trip in India was education. The girls, Corinne and Kaylin, focused mostly on this, while David and I worked on the water project. We did a hand washing activity. I don't know if you've ever heard of glow germ. It's a chemical that you put on your hands that activates germs or makes them glow when you put it under a light. So they had the kids do the glow germ where they could see the bacteria under their hands. They explained the importance of washing your hands, getting rid of the bacteria. They also worked on vocabulary and English lessons. They didn't go too far into that because it seemed like they were stepping on the toes of the teachers in the school. First aid, we all gave a lesson on first aid. Did a few simulations with like a cut hand, what you would do, wash it off, put antibacterial cream on it, and then patch it up with a Band-Aid. We brought over 15 med kits to give to the school, we gave to the local hospital, and then we gave to an HIV/AIDS orphanage. This was our last thing that we did. We got to visit an HIV/AIDS clinic, which most of these kids are orphans, and they live at the clinic. The purpose of that was to see if we can collect data for the next cohort that goes to India, and see if they can help them in any way. We also got to meet Dr. Akash Kapoor, who wrote a book about India, the cultural differences between India, the United States, and how India is becoming, it's a pretty good book. I recommend it for anyone who goes to India. And then try new things. If you ever get to go abroad, I recommend like riding the bus to the end of the line, or go to McDonald's, see what their food is like at McDonald's. Everything's different, and you should experience as much as you can. We got to grow as a team. India, kind of being in a different culture with a group is really, really interesting, and you get to bond and make really good connections. If there's any questions you guys have.
My question would be if the community members were willing to help with the project, so whether that was digging the trench or actually the construction of your filter, why were you opposed to them helping you if it was going to help you like complete the project faster, and they would also have more of a buy-in to maintain the filter?
There's two sides to that question, I guess. The problem that we had with it was that the communication barrier. They didn't necessarily understand what our means and intents were of completing a project, and they would do it more of their own way, which is wasn't in line with what we wanted to get done. But we did include some of the students that we stayed with on the project, and they helped us a lot. And they're also they're in charge of the filter. If anything goes wrong, we dedicated 2 people to be able to go fix it because they helped us build it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was 2 sides of it. One side where some people would try to do it their way, and then the 2 kids that we got on board that could communicate with us really well, they're in charge of the water filter now.
Was there like language barrier?
Yes, there was. There were a lot of English-speaking people.
Yeah.
But it was difficult to communicate with certain people that they just didn't speak English very well, or talking with some of the locals. They could speak English for like a sentence, and then they would know like, hey, how are you? Have you had your food? But they wouldn't know anything beyond that. So it was pretty difficult.